Imagine trying to explain like the meaning of life to someone who just learned how to tie their shoes.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is a tall order.
Right. I mean, you can't use jargon. You can't just hand them a heavy philosophy textbook.
Hmm.
And you definitely cannot just shrug your shoulders and say, well, nobody knows. So what do you actually say to them?
It is, it really is the ultimate communication challenge.
Yeah.
You're essentially taking the heaviest, most complicated existential crisis humanity has ever known,
Yeah.
and you're trying to translate it into a language that a child with a vocabulary of like maybe 500 words can process,
Yes.
and process without feeling completely overwhelmed.
And that translation process is the core of our deep dive today. So, okay, let's unpack this. We are looking at a highly specific, very concise source document titled Answering the Great Question Across Childhood Ages.
It's a fascinating read.
It really is. It's essentially a guide that recommends how to distill the biggest question in human history into these bite-sized, developmentally appropriate answers for kids at ages 3, 6, and 9.
Exactly.
And what initially looks like, just a simple parenting cheat sheet is actually mapping the evolution of human awareness. We are watching the human mind move from a demand for absolute certainty into the gradual acceptance of a subjective reality, and then finally arriving at an understanding of historical context.
Yeah, the mechanics of how this document adjusts its language are just striking because we aren't just looking at what words to say to kids.
Right.
We're looking at how a developing brain actually perceives reality at these different stages. I mean, the architecture of the answer has to change simply because the architecture of the child's brain is fundamentally changing every few years.
So let's look at the very first stage the document covers, which is age 3.
The very beginning.
Yeah, the beginning of verbal curiosity. The child's question is phrased in like the most elemental way possible. They just ask, why are we here? And the source provides a very specific script for the parent to deliver. It says, we are here to love, learn, play, and be together. And then it includes this instruction for the parent on how to deliver it. It says, keep it warm and grounding.
And that instruction to keep it warm and grounding is doing a massive amount of psychological heavy lifting.
How so?
Well, at 3 years old, a child is squarely in what developmental psychologists call the pre-operational stage. Their world is entirely literal and incredibly immediate.
So they aren't looking for deep philosophy.
Exactly. They are not asking a metaphysical question about the cosmos or the grand design of the universe. They are asking about their immediate physical environment. I mean, the world is still very new to them, and quite frankly, it can be terrifying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They are small, they are vulnerable, and they are constantly trying to figure out if they are safe.
So if you think of a 3-year-old's mind like a secure little room, they are just moving into...
I like that analogy.
Right. So this answer provides the floorboards. It gives them something solid to stand on before they start wandering around looking at the walls. But I have to ask.
Sure.
I look at that specific list of words in the script, love, learn, play, and be together, and I immediately question the inclusion of the word play.
Yeah.
Because, love and learn feel appropriately weighty for an existential question. But as an adult, I view play as a break from my actual purpose.
Right, like downtime.
Exactly. It's something you do on the weekend when the real work is done. So why is the source giving play equal billing with something as foundational as love? Are they just, throwing a bone to a toddler?
No, not at all. We have to completely divorce ourselves from the adult definition of play. For a 3-year-old, play is not a distraction from life.
Okay.
It is the laboratory where life is actively figured out. When a toddler is stacking wooden blocks and knocking them over, they aren't just messing around.
What are they doing then?
They are conducting rigorous, repetitive physics experiments about gravity and structural integrity.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. And when they are role-playing with a stuffed animal, pretending to feed it or put it to sleep, they are testing out the neurological pathways for empathy and social dynamics.
So it is real work.
Exactly. By placing play right alongside love and learn, the source elevates childhood joy to a fundamental, non-negotiable life purpose. It validates that their primary daily activity is profoundly meaningful.
Man, that really makes me rethink how I watch kids in a sandbox. They're basically little scientists in the field.
They really are.
I also noticed the phrasing of the very first words the parent is instructed to say. The script starts with, we are here. It's not, I think we are here, or maybe we are supposed to be here.
Right, because the parent is utilizing the collective certainty of we. The biological imperative at age 3 is attachment and security.
Which goes back to the safety thing.
Precisely. If the parent introduces ambiguity, if they say something like, well, nobody really knows why we are here, they are pulling the rug out from under a brain that hasn't yet developed the capacity to balance multiple possibilities.
That would just induce panic.
Exactly. The child needs an absolute, grounded reality. We are here, I know the plan, and you're a part of it. It directly satisfies that threat detection center in the toddler's brain.
Allowing them to relax and, like you said, go back to the important work of playing.
Spot on.
So the absolute truth is established, but, kids grow up, they leave the house, and that secure little room eventually needs a window and then a door.
Yes, the world gets bigger.
Which brings us to the next stage in our source document, which is age 6. At this point, the child is going to kindergarten or first grade.
Right.
They're realizing the kid sitting next to them is standing on a completely different set of floorboards.
And that transition from age 3 to age 6 involves a massive neurological leap. It's known as theory of mind.
Theory of mind. Okay, what does that mean in this context?
Well, at 3, a child generally assumes that everyone knows what they know, and everyone believes what they believe. If they know a toy is hidden in a box, they just assume you know it's there too.
Because their reality is the only reality.
Exactly. But around age 4 or 5, the brain develops the capacity to understand that other people have completely separate minds, with separate sets of information and totally separate beliefs.
And the source document reflects that shift instantly. I mean, even the child's question changes here.
Yes, it does.
At 3, it was a very personal, why are we here? But at 6, the document phrases the child's question as something more formal and outward-looking. They ask, what's the meaning of life?
The scope has widened.
And to answer this, the parent's script changes dramatically. The source advises the parent to say, many people believe life is about learning, caring for others, and finding happiness. And the explicit instruction attached to the stages introduce that different people think differently.
Just think about the cognitive load of what that 6-year-old is experiencing in a classroom.
Oh, it must be huge.
It is. They're suddenly in an environment where, Tommy's family goes to a building on Sundays and Sarah's family doesn't eat meat and Jimmy has 2 moms.
It's just a collision of realities.
Right. They're being bombarded with the reality of multiple competing truths. So that instruction to introduce that different people think differently gives the child a framework to process that overwhelming social input without panicking.
I see the utility in that, for sure. But part of me wonders if taking the training wheels of absolute truth off the bicycle at age 6 is happening too soon.
How do you mean?
Well, at 3, the parent was offering the comfort of, we are here to love. Now we are suddenly introducing the caveat of many people believe. Does introducing the concept of subjective reality risk making a first grader feel completely unmoored, like they don't have anything solid to hold on to anymore?
It might seem counterintuitive, but stepping down from the role of an absolute all-knowing oracle actually protects the long-term trust between the parent and the child.
Really? By knowing less?
Basically, yeah. If a parent insists on being the sole arbiter of absolute truth forever, they are setting a trap for themselves. Because eventually, that child's cognitive development will allow them to spot the parent's flaws or gaps in knowledge.
Oh, right. The moment they realize mom and dad don't actually know everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when that inevitable realization happens, if the parent has claimed absolute authority, it triggers a massive crisis of faith for the child.
That makes total sense.
By using the phrase, many people believe, the parent gently shifts the burden. They're no longer the dictator of reality. They become like a trusted guide, helping the child navigate a complex landscape.
I love that. They are essentially standing shoulder to shoulder with the kid, pointing out at the world and saying, look at all the different ways people are trying to figure this out.
That's a perfect image for it. And if you look closely at the vocabulary the source uses for the 6-year-old, it mirrors that expanding awareness.
Yeah, the words definitely change.
The 3-year-old script focused on love and play verbs. They're immediate, internal, and confined to the family unit. But the 6-year-old script introduces caring for others and finding happiness.
And caring for others is a huge leap in social consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, it implies that there is an external world of people who are vulnerable and require attention.
Which is exactly what you need to learn when you start school.
Right. It's the exact social contract you have to sign when you enter a school environment. You aren't just playing by yourself anymore. You have to share the sandbox.
Furthermore, look at the phrasing finding happiness. It frames happiness not as a baseline state that is somehow guaranteed by the parents, but as an active, individual pursuit.
Something you have to go out and do.
Exactly. The meaning of life expands from simply existing together to actively navigating a society. You have to recognize differing beliefs and take responsibility for both your own emotional state and the well-being of the people around you.
That is heavy for a 6-year-old,
Yeah,
but so necessary.
it really is.
Okay, so if age 6 takes us into the neighborhood and the classroom, age 9 zooms out to the entire planet, and really the whole scope of human history.
Yes, the lens gets much wider here.
Which brings us to the final stage outlined in our source text. We are moving from the subjective plurality of a neighborhood to a vast historical continuum.
Because at 9 years old, we are dealing with the emergence of abstract operational thought.
What does that look like in a 9-year-old brain?
Basically, the prefrontal cortex is developing to a point where a child can grasp deep time, complex social dynamics, and most importantly, the concept of a self that is entirely distinct from their family unit.
So they realize they are their own person.
Right. They can actually think about thinking, which is a process called metacognition.
Okay, metacognition.
Yeah.
And the source material handles this leap with a completely new approach.
It really shifts gears.
The child's question remains the same as it was at 6. They are still asking, what is the meaning of life? But the recommended script expands into something much more sweeping.
Let's hear it.
The document advises the parent to say, people have wondered about that for thousands of years. Many believe meaning comes from love, relationships, growth, helping others, and discovering who we are.
That's a beautiful answer.
It is. And the instruction provided for the parent here is, honestly, the most intricate piece of guidance in the entire text. It says, this question can become the emotional signature of your channel.
Wow. Okay, so the introduction of time saying thousands of years is a pivotal shift.
Because they finally understand what 1,000 years means.
Well, they can conceptualize it. Up until this point, the child's framework for time has been incredibly short. I mean, a summer break feels like a lifetime to a younger child.
Oh, totally. I remember summers lasting forever.
Right. So introducing the idea that humanity has been wrestling with a single thought for millennia requires the child to project their mind far beyond their own lived experience.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. By dropping thousands of years on them, you are essentially pulling out a chair for them at a massive, ongoing historical book club.
Oh, I love that. A historical book club.
Yeah, you are telling them, welcome to the club, take a seat. The greatest minds in history have been debating this exact question. But again, I try to put myself in the shoes of a 9-year-old.
Okay.
Does hearing that thousands of years of human wondering have failed to produce a definitive answer feel exhausting? It seems like it could carry a really heavy weight, realizing that this massive puzzle might not actually have a solution.
It's a fair question, but the psychological effect is actually the opposite. It is profoundly empowering because it completely removes the pressure of an impending pop quiz.
What do you mean by a pop quiz?
Think about the anxiety a child feels when they're trying to solve a math equation that they know has one single correct answer. And everyone else seems to understand it but them.
The worst feeling.
Right. Now compare that to the freedom of contributing to a massive open-ended mural where there are no wrong brushstrokes. By invoking thousands of years, the parent is validating the sheer complexity of the child's thought process.
Ah, I see.
The subtext is basically, the fact that you are asking this question doesn't mean you are confused or lost. It means you are a functioning human being. You are participating in the exact same intellectual exercise as the smartest philosophers in history.
It reframes the unknown from a burden into a legacy. You are inheriting the great human project of wondering.
Exactly.
And that internal project is reflected in the new vocabulary the source introduces for the 9-year-old. We see the word growth and, crucially, the phrase discovering who we are.
Yes. Discovering who we are leverages that new metacognitive ability we just discussed.
Because they can think about themselves now.
Right. At 3, identity was an external absolute. We are here. At 6, identity was social and comparative, many people believe. But at 9, identity becomes an active internal investigation.
They're looking inward.
Because they realize they have thoughts their parents don't have access to, so they begin to construct an inner ego. The phrase, discovering who we are, gives them permission to treat their own identity as an exploration, rather than a predetermined script they just have to follow.
Which perfectly tees up that deeply intriguing piece of parental guidance from the source. The part that says, this question can become the emotional signature of your channel.
Such a great phrase.
When we talk about a channel here, we're talking about a frequency of communication, right? It's the ongoing avenue of connection between a parent and a rapidly maturing child.
Exactly. The source is actively warning the parent against treating this question as a transaction.
Like, don't just give them a textbook answer and walk away.
Right. If a parent views this interaction as a problem to be solved, a question is asked, a definitive answer is given, case closed, they are shutting down the channel.
They're cutting off the signal.
Yes. Instead, the document suggests using the question itself as the connective tissue of the relationship. The emotional signature implies that whenever this topic comes up in the future, the tone of the conversation should be marked by mutual respect, shared curiosity, and the validation of the child's emerging intellect.
The genius of that advice is that it anticipates the teenage years.
Oh, absolutely.
By leaving the loop open, the parent ensures that the open loop becomes the very thing that keeps the child talking to them as they navigate adolescence. Framing a massive unresolved question not as an annoyance, but as a shared inquiry, well, it gives the teenager a reason to keep tuning into that parental frequency.
It requires the parent to fully accept that their job description has fundamentally changed.
They aren't the floorboards anymore.
Right. They are no longer the solid floorboards of a secure room. They aren't even the guide pointing out different beliefs in the neighborhood. They have transitioned into a co-explorer,
Walking alongside them.
walking alongside their child in that historical book club and just admitting that they are still trying to figure it out too.
When you look at the entirety of the journey this short source document maps out, the sheer density of the psychological insight is just remarkable.
It really is a masterclass.
We started at age 3 with the absolute warm grounding of we are here to play and be together. It is a pure biological assertion of safety, catering to a brain that desperately needs a solid foundation in a literal world.
And then moving to age 6, the document addressed the cognitive leap of theory of mind by introducing plurality.
Taking off the training wheel.
Right. Stepping down from absolute certainty to acknowledge that many people believe different things, which equips the child to handle a subjective reality and introduces the social contract of actively caring for others.
And arriving at age 9, the source scales out to a historical continuum. It leverages the child's new capacity for abstract thought by welcoming them to thousands of years of wondering.
Leaving the door wide open.
Yeah. It pivots the focus inward toward discovering who we are while simultaneously turning the unanswerable nature of the question into an enduring, open channel of communication between parent and child.
It perfectly models how a human being gradually wakes up to the complexity of the universe, and how the language used by a caregiver must evolve in lockstep with that awakening to prevent fear and foster independence.
It really leaves me thinking about the trajectory of that evolution. We have spent this deep dive exploring how a single document tracks a dramatic, rapid expansion in how we define the meaning of life over just 6 short years of childhood.
It's an incredible amount of growth.
It is. From age 3 to 6 to 9, the architecture of the answer grows increasingly complex, expanding from the family living room out to the very edges of human history. But I want to leave you with a final lingering thought today, one that's built entirely on the momentum of this source text.
Let's hear it.
If the answer to the meaning of life evolves this much by the time a person is 9 years old, what does the answer look like for an adult when they reach age 80 or 90?
Oh, that's a profound question.
After living through those thousands of years of human wondering and spending an entire lifetime doing the hard work of discovering who we are, as the 9-year-old script demands, does the ultimate answer continue to expand outward into greater complexity?
Or did it change direction?
Exactly. Does it eventually just circle right back around to the baseline of the 3-year-old? When all the abstract thinking and historical debates are said and done, is the absolute truth of a long life simply that we are here to love, learn, play, and be together? I'll let you mull that over.